Imagine leaving a heavy iron shovel out in the rain for a few years. What happens to it? It rusts, cracks, and eventually falls apart. Our planet is constantly undergoing the exact same process, but on a massive scale. The Earth's surface is constantly being shaped, scrapped, and broken down by a process called erosion. The main sculptors in this massive project? Running water, groundwater, and giant blocks of moving ice called glaciers. Today, we are going to look at the tools nature uses to carve our world. Welcome to our topic, geomorphic agents. Let's start with the most powerful sculptor of them all, running water. In humid regions with heavy rainfall, running water causes the most damage and change to the Earth's surface. Think of a river like a living creature. It actually goes through stages of life: youth, maturity, and old age. In its youth, a river is like a chaotic, energetic teenager. It flows fast down steep slopes, cutting deep into the ground to create sharp, V-shaped valleys. You will see waterfalls and rapids everywhere. As the river reaches maturity, it calms down. The waterfalls disappear. The river stops cutting so deep and instead starts widening out, carving broad valleys and slowly winding its way through the landscape in curves called meanders. Finally, in its old age, the river is completely sluggish. It flows over flat land very close to sea level, lazily meandering across vast plains and dumping all the dirt and rocks it carried from the mountains. During this journey, the river acts as a giant knife, carving out erosional landforms. A small trickle of water turns into a narrow gully, which deepens into a massive V-shaped valley. If it cuts through extremely hard rock, it forms a deep, straight-walled gorge. If it cuts through softer sedimentary rock in a step-like fashion, it creates a massive canyon. Fast-moving water can even drill perfect circular holes into solid rock, called potholes. And if these form at the bottom of a waterfall, they are called massive plunge pools. But what happens to all the rocks and dirt the river carved out? Eventually, the river slows down and dumps it, creating depositional landforms. When a mountain stream suddenly hits a flat plain, it dumps a massive fan-shaped pile of debris called an alluvial fan. When the river finally meets the sea, it dumps its load there, creating a delta. Along its banks, the river builds up natural walls of coarse dirt called natural levees, and as it lazily curves back and forth in its old age, it creates winding loops, meanders, that can eventually get pinched off, leaving behind crescent-shaped oxbow lakes. Now, not all water stays on the surface. What about groundwater? If you pour water on limestone, it doesn't just sit there. Because limestone is rich in calcium carbonate, the water actually acts like acid, dissolving the rock from the inside out. This creates a bizarre, alien landscape called karst topography. Groundwater acts as a silent underground sculptor. It eats away at the surface, creating sinkholes. Over time, these sinkholes collapse, opening up massive, pitch-black underground caves. As mineral-rich water slowly drips from the ceiling of these caves over thousands of years, it leaves behind rock formations. The ones hanging from the ceiling like stone icicles are stalactites. The ones growing up from the floor are stalagmites. When they finally meet in the middle, they form a massive stone pillar. Finally, let's talk about the heavy hitters, glaciers. Imagine a river made entirely of solid ice, weighing millions of tons, moving a few centimeters a day. Glaciers don't just carve the rock, they completely bulldoze it. The sheer weight and friction of the ice rips massive boulders out of the ground, dragging them along and scraping the earth like giant sandpaper. Glaciers carve out deep, bowl-shaped basins high in the mountains called cirques. If multiple cirques eat into the same mountain peak from different sides, they leave behind a sharp, jagged spike of rock called a horn. Did you know Mount Everest is actually a horn carved by glaciers? As the glacier bulldozes its way down the mountain, it carves massive, U-shaped glacial valleys. And just like a river, when the ice finally melts, it dumps everything it was carrying. It leaves behind massive ridges of unsorted dirt and rock called moraines, and sinuous, winding ridges of gravel called eskers. From the fast-cutting rivers of the mountains to the silent, acid-like groundwater dissolving caves to the slow, brutal bulldozing of glaciers, the earth is not a static rock. It is a living, breathing canvas, and water and ice are constantly holding the brush.